Okay, we're going to tackle a really important and sensitive topic today, suicidal ideation. And right up front, I want to say, if you or someone you know is in an immediate crisis, please just pause this for a moment and get in touch with your local emergency services right away. For everyone else, we're going to spend the next few minutes breaking down what suicidal ideation really is, how you can spot the signs, and maybe most importantly, talk about the path to recovery. Our whole goal here is to bring some understanding to this with a lot of compassion.
You know, this quote on the screen really says it all. It is so essential to start right here. Thinking about suicide isn't some kind of character flaw or a sign of weakness. Not at all. It's a signal, a sign of just deep, overwhelming pain. And once we get that, it changes everything. It helps strip away the stigma and lets us focus on what actually matters, which is getting the right help.
All right, so let's dive into our first section, a sign of pain. So what exactly is suicidal ideation? If it's a sign of pain, what does that pain actually look and feel like? Let's get a really clear understanding of the term.
So here's the definition. Suicidal ideation is basically having persistent thoughts of ending your life. But it's really important to know that this isn't a simple on or off switch. It's a spectrum. On one end, you might have a fleeting, intrusive thought that you brush off pretty quickly. But on the other end, it can become much more serious, developing into detailed plans. And while it often shows up with things like depression or trauma, it's really its own condition that needs its own specific attention.
And this is absolutely the key takeaway. These kinds of thoughts, they rarely just vanish on their own. In fact, they can get stronger over time. And that's exactly why spotting the signs and getting help early isn't just, a good idea. It is literally a life-saving action. It's that serious. Okay, on to Section 2, recognizing the warning signs. So how can we actually see the signals for help? Since we know acting early is so critical, knowing what to look for is probably the most powerful first step we can take. Let's talk about those warning signs, for ourselves and for the people we love.
So the big question is, what are those signals we should be looking for? How does that deep pain actually show up in what someone says or does?
Okay, let's look at this list of urgent warning signs. What's so important to see here is just how wide-ranging these behaviors can be. It's not always super direct. I mean, yes, someone might talk openly about wanting to die or feeling hopeless, but the signals can also be way more subtle. Things like withdrawing from friends and family, sudden shifts in sleeping or eating, maybe an increased use of alcohol, or even giving away important belongings. You might also hear them talk about feeling like a burden or like there's no purpose. These aren't just your average mood swings. These are urgent signals that we really need to pay attention to.
All right, Section 3, how intervention works. This is all about the structured approach to crisis care. So, okay, let's say a signal is recognized and help is on the way. What happens then? The word intervention can sound, a little intimidating, right? But it's really just a structured, supportive process that's all about safety and getting things stable.
So here's what that process looks like. It's really a multi-layered thing. First up, number 1, is an immediate safety plan. The goal is just to reduce any immediate risk of harm. Then you move into therapy, things like CBT and counseling, which are amazing for building new ways to cope. Number 3, medication might come into play, especially if there's an underlying issue like depression. 4 is family involvement. This is huge because it builds a stronger support network right at home. And finally, number 5, follow-up care. This is crucial for long-term recovery. It's not a one-and-done thing. It's a whole system of support.
Okay, let's move on. Section 4, where to find help. I think this might be the most important part of our whole chat, because understanding the process is great, but knowing exactly where to turn, that's the most critical piece of the puzzle. So let's get into the practical, actionable stuff.
Now, it's really helpful to think about support in 2 different ways. On one side, you have clinical care. This is for ongoing support, right? Like therapy and creating a long-term stabilization plan with a professional team. But on the other side, you have immediate emergency services, and that's for those moments of immediate danger. Knowing which one you need in that moment can make all the difference in the world.
So just to give a concrete example, let's look at some immediate emergency services available in the UAE. Of course, you have the standard numbers. 998 for an ambulance, 999 for the police. But there are also more specialized options, like the Al Amal Psychiatric Hospital in Dubai for specific mental health emergencies. And there's also a national mental support line that's available 24/7.
And here is that number for the National Mental Support Line. It's 800-HOPE. That's 800-4673.
I mean, just think about that. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you can get confidential emotional support. Just having this number handy, knowing it's there, it's such a vital tool for anyone who needs to talk to someone right now in a safe way.
And that brings us to our final section, and honestly the most hopeful one, the path to recovery. It's all about moving from that place of despair to a place of hope. So after the crisis, after the intervention, what does the road ahead actually look like?
Wow. Choosing life again. I just think this phrase is so powerful. It really captures what recovery is all about. It's not a passive thing. It's not just about surviving. It's an active, empowered choice to find meaning again, to really engage with life. What a profound idea.
And if there's one thing I want you to walk away with, it's this. Suicidal thoughts can feel completely overwhelming, I know. But they are treatable. This is not a life sentence. It truly isn't. With the right care, with professional and compassionate support, it is absolutely possible to get through that pain and rediscover a life filled with meaning.
So that really leaves us with one last question to think about. A question for all of us. Knowing everything we've just discussed, how can we, each of us, make it easier for people in pain to ask for help? How do we build a world where reaching out isn't seen as a moment of weakness, but as what it truly is, an incredible act of courage? Thank you so much for taking the time to go through this with us.